Ever since the establishment of college sports, they have swept over America and gained vast popularity. Since 1906, the NCAA has organized these sports into a well-oiled business that has provided entertainment for countless households over its existence. It offers an escape for children and adults alike, and it tugs and pulls at our heartstrings as we are drawn into each intensity of each game. Because of this popularity, the NCAA has grown to be a powerhouse and profits nearly $1 billion a year. With such large profits, many have suggested that student athletes should earn part of the income because they put forth most of the effort. Others, on the other hand, insist that an education is fair enough and that they do not deserve higher payment. As an economic major, I've studied and analyzed data that reveals just how much the NCAA takes advantage over these student athletes. I'll talk today on why it is time the NCAA changes its no pay to play policy on its players. Let's start by talking about the history of the NCAA and how it has changed the income while not changing any of its costs. According to the NCAA beginnings, when the NCAA officially formed, it included a group of 62 colleges and universities from across the country. Over the generations, what started out as a man-only organization started to branch out and began to include women's sports. This would allow the NCAA a great opportunity to expand and meet the demands of a changing society. Throughout these changes, one thing has continued to remain the same. All student athletes, male or female, are in no way to receive any type of compensation for their services to the NCAA. They are only allowed to receive scholarships for schooling if they are eligible to do so, based on the skill sets and the university they attend. This has long since been the stance of the NCAA and has had little controversy until recently. Since the organization has become so profitable, some see it as time for the profit of the athletes to increase also. As Ben Akelson from the Post-Standard put it, coaches' salaries have increased as much as 300 times what they were in the 1950s, and ticket prices and stadium capacities have steadily grown. Player compensation, on the other hand, has remained the same throughout the time in the form of a scholarship. We will next cover the NCAA's stance for not paying the players and how players themselves see what it's like to play for the NCAA. David Roberts of the website The Jambar summed up the NCAA's stance by saying, "The argument from the NCAA is that if you start paying the players, it is no longer an amateur league, which goes against tradition. They also argue that these athletes are primarily students and, of course, many of them are on athletic scholarships. The NCAA believes that the athletes are fairly compensated for their input for the organization. Paying them on top of their scholarship would be far too much expense. Players are allowed a very rare opportunity being able to get a free education for playing a game. However, players had this to say in a USA Today article. In the top tier Division I, almost 2 of every 3 players said they considered themselves more of an athlete than a student. This statement shows that most players feel they put more into the program than what they get out. The call for the new form of rules regarding restrictions to pay them needs to change, and they want to see it changed immediately. The NCAA believes that the longer they keep quiet and do not stir up the pot, the quicker the entire issue will just simply be forgotten. Just like other instances, people will soon forget the hype and will move on to critique some other part of the organization. Finally, I'll cover the reasons why it is time to pay these student athletes. Although their tuition and housing is taken care of, many players sneak by with little else. For those that have a family, they're unable to provide for the necessities of raising children and caring for spouses. Ben Akelson again states, without the ability to get a job, most live under the poverty level. In the case of most athletes, they're not even covered by a full scholarship. According to Lynn O'Shaughnessy from CBS News, full-ride sports scholarships are scarce. There are only 6 sports where all the scholarships are full-ride. These so-called head count sports are football, men and women's basketball, and women's gymnastics, volleyball, and tennis. In these Division I sports, athletes receive a full ride or a no ride. This goes against every argument stating that college athletes receive enough for their talents. If the NCAA is going to coast off the idea that student athletes are fairly compensated, then they better at least make sure every athlete receives a full scholarship. In conclusion, as the NCAA continues to grow and gain profits, it is only reasonable that the players who earn that profit should get a slice. To gain from another person's sacrifice is not only wrong, but it goes against everything that this nation stands for, both morally and ethically. As John Locke put it, all wealth is the product of labor. In this case, the NCAA is gaining their wealth from the labor of modern-day slavery. Thank you.